Respect is something everyone wants, but only a few actually earn. The harsh truth is that most people are unknowingly destroying their own respect, without even realizing it. It's not about how much money you have, your status, or trying to force others to admire you. What truly matters are the small, often invisible actions you take every single day. These seemingly insignificant choices determine whether people take you seriously or walk all over you. In today's fast-paced world, many believe respect comes from wealth or influence, but the reality is much more subtle. The way you carry yourself, how you follow through on your promises, and how you control your emotions have a far greater impact than any flashy car or expensive suit. People don't respect you because of what you have or how loud you speak, they respect you because of your integrity and your ability to act consistently. In this discussion, I'll share simple changes that will radically transform how people perceive you. Some of these might feel uncomfortable or even controversial, but they are effective. If you're looking to gain respect, not just from others, but also from yourself, then stay tuned. By the end, you'll understand that the path to true respect isn't paved with grand gestures, but with consistent, purposeful actions that command attention and admiration. And trust me, once you start applying these principles, you'll notice a shift in how people treat you. 1. Small changes that can transform how others see you. It's easy to think that respect is something you earn by showcasing big accomplishments or flaunting your wealth. However, the truth is that respect isn't about money, titles, or trying to impress others. It's about the small, almost invisible habits you cultivate every day. These little actions are what truly shape the way people see you. And often, it's not the grand gestures, but these consistent, everyday choices that either make people take you seriously or walk all over you. For example, one of the simplest but most effective ways to gain respect is to never break a promise. This might seem like an obvious thing, but many people fail to realize the power of keeping their word. Whether it's telling someone you'll call them later, promising to be on time, or committing to something as simple as starting a new habit, when you break your word, you undermine your own credibility. People might not call you out immediately, but over time, they'll start to stop trusting you. It's the little promises you make every day that shape your reputation more than any big vow. When you consistently follow through, you build trust and reliability, and in a world where most people struggle with keeping their own resolutions, this is a rare and valuable trait. Another small change that can have a huge impact is controlling your reactions. In American culture, there's a tendency to view power as something loud or domineering, someone who yells to make a point or forces their presence into a room. But real power comes from controlling your emotions. When you stay calm and composed, even in stressful situations, people begin to respect you for your emotional discipline. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings, but instead, take a moment to pause before reacting. Leaders, whether they're CEOs or military commanders, understand that whoever can stay calm under pressure wins. When you're in control of your reactions, people look to you for guidance, and you gain respect in ways that someone who constantly overreacts never will. Finally, stop trying to impress others. The more you chase validation from others, the less respect you get. Americans admire people who are confident in themselves, who don't feel the need to show off their achievements or possessions. Instead, impress yourself. Build a life that you're proud of, and when you stop seeking constant approval from others, you'll find that respect follows naturally. People are drawn to those who have self-worth and don't need to prove it to anyone. Focus on becoming someone you respect, and watch as others begin to respect you too. These small shifts in mindset and behavior may seem subtle, but they have a massive impact. Whether it's keeping your word, controlling your emotional reactions, or focusing on impressing yourself rather than others, these changes will quickly transform how people view you. And when people respect you, they take you seriously, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. 2. Changes that help you earn more respect. Never break a promise, no matter how small. 1. Never break a promise, no matter how small. When it comes to earning respect, we often focus on big milestones, landing a high-paying job, buying the latest car, or showing off our achievements. But the truth is, true respect doesn't come from flashy displays or big gestures. It's earned through the consistency of our actions, especially when it comes to keeping our promises. One of the most powerful ways to build respect, yet one that many overlook, is to never break a promise, no matter how small. At first, breaking a small promise may not seem like a big deal. Maybe you tell a friend, "I'll be there at 6 p.m., and you show up at 6:30. It feels harmless enough, right? But here's the problem: every time you break your word, even with minor things like being late or skipping a small commitment, you chip away at your credibility. It might not lead to a confrontation, but over time, people stop trusting your word. Slowly but surely, they'll stop taking you seriously, and that's when respect starts to fade. The damage from breaking promises is subtle. It doesn't always result in dramatic fallout. People don't always call you out. They smile, nod, and act friendly, but deep down, they've stopped believing in you. And once that trust is lost, it's hard to get it back. This can happen even with promises you make to yourself. Think about how often you've said, "I'll start that diet tomorrow," or "I'm going to wake up early," only to hit snooze or break your plan. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're sending a message that you don't follow through. You lose trust in yourself, and that cycle impacts how you show up in every area of your life. Now, let's flip the script. Keeping promises, especially the small ones, can build respect faster than anything else. It's the little things that truly matter. If you say you'll be somewhere at 6 p.m., you show up on time. If you promise to send an email, it's in their inbox before they even check. If you say you'll go to the gym, you're there by 7 a.m. These small actions may seem insignificant, but they build your reputation as someone reliable and trustworthy. And in a world where most people fail to follow through, being reliable is rare. And rare things are valuable. Think about the most respected people you know. Are they the ones making the loudest declarations or boasting about their success? No. They're the ones who do what they say they will. When they make a commitment, it's as good as done. Their word is their bond. And this is what earns them respect, because they follow through. It's not about how much they talk or how many promises they make. It's about the promises they keep. But here's the kicker: keeping promises isn't just about the promises you make to others, it's about the promises you make to yourself. Think about how many times you've set a personal goal, whether it's waking up earlier, going for a run, or reading a book, and then let it slide. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your self-respect. You start to see yourself as someone who doesn't follow through, and that impacts your confidence. However, when you keep your word to yourself, you build self-respect. You start to trust yourself, and that trust translates into stronger relationships with others. People can see that you're someone who does what they say. Imagine for a moment that every promise you made was legally binding, no exceptions. Would you still casually commit to things without thinking? Would you make promises you have no intention of keeping? Or would you choose your words more carefully, knowing that your reputation depends on your ability to follow through? The most respected people don't talk about their achievements constantly, they simply get things done. They act on their word, and that's what earns them respect. At the end of the day, respect isn't something you demand or try to force. It's something you earn through consistency, integrity, and action. Keeping your promises, whether big or small, is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to build that respect. People respect those who follow through, who keep their word, and who can be relied on in any situation. So, start today. Be the person who always delivers on their commitments, no matter how small. The more you do, the more respect you'll naturally gain in all areas of your life. 2. Control your reactions. Real power comes from emotional discipline. In American culture, power is often associated with being loud, aggressive, or dominating a room. We see people who raise their voices, argue passionately, or impose their presence on others and think that's what respect looks like. But the truth is, true power doesn't come from reacting in the moment, it comes from controlling your reactions, especially in high-stress or emotional situations. The ability to stay calm, composed, and in control, no matter what happens around you, is the real source of power. Consider the people you respect most in your life or those who lead in your workplace or community. Are they the ones who overreact when things go wrong? Are they the ones who yell and slam their fists on the table when they're frustrated? No. The most respected individuals are those who maintain their composure, no matter the chaos surrounding them. They understand that staying calm in any situation is a sign of strength, not weakness. This concept might seem counterintuitive, especially in a society where emotional expression is often seen as a way to show authenticity or assertiveness. However, emotional control is an essential trait of strong leaders, successful entrepreneurs, and respected figures in any field. People who can control their emotions under pressure exude confidence and command respect. Let's look at a real-life example. A few years ago, I had a boss named James. He was smart, successful, and ran a multi-million-dollar company. But there was one major flaw: he had zero control over his emotions. One time, an intern sent an email with a small typo, and James lost it. He exploded, yelling, slamming his desk, turning red like a cartoon villain. The entire office stopped and stared. It was uncomfortable. And here's the thing, no one took him seriously after that. His emotional outburst didn't make him seem powerful, it made him seem unstable. People began to tiptoe around him, afraid of provoking his next outburst, but they didn't respect him more for it. Contrast that with another person I know, David, who was also in a high-stress situation. A mistake happened at work, and the company faced a significant loss. Instead of losing his mind, David stayed calm. He simply paused, looked at the person responsible, and said, "Fix it and make sure it doesn't happen again." No shouting. No dramatics. Just a firm, calm statement. And guess what? People listened to him. Why? Because when you remain composed in the face of adversity, you exude authority. You become someone people trust to handle tough situations, and that's how you earn respect. The moment you lose control of your emotions, you give your power away. You let the situation dictate your behavior, and that's not a position of strength. Think about it, when someone insults you, and you react immediately with anger or defensiveness, you're letting them control the conversation. When life throws you a curveball, and you panic, you're showing the world that you can't handle stress. But when you take a moment to pause, breathe, and respond thoughtfully, you not only maintain your own emotional balance, but you also demonstrate to everyone around you that you're in control. This is where true power lies. Mastering emotional control doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means responding to situations in a way that's measured, thoughtful, and reflective. It means being able to choose your reactions instead of letting your emotions take over. One simple technique is to pause before responding. If someone says something that triggers you, take a deep breath, and give yourself 5 seconds to think before reacting. That small delay can make a huge difference in how you handle the situation and how people perceive you. Another way to control your reactions is to avoid engaging in arguments with people who are simply looking to provoke you. Many people thrive on stirring up conflict or triggering an emotional response, but instead of getting drawn into these traps, learn to walk away or stay silent. Let them waste their energy while you maintain your calm. Mastering your body language also plays a key role. People can feel your energy. If you tense up or show frustration, they'll sense weakness. But if you keep a neutral expression and remain calm, you'll project strength. Real power is about emotional discipline. It's about choosing how to respond to the world instead of letting the world dictate how you react. When you master this skill, people start to treat you differently. They look to you for leadership, they trust your decisions, and most importantly, they respect your ability to handle any situation with poise. This is the kind of power that commands respect, not the loudest, the fastest, or the most aggressive, but the one who remains calm and in control, no matter what's happening around them. 3. Don't try to impress others, impress yourself. In today's world, especially in American culture, there's a constant pressure to impress others. We are surrounded by social media, advertisements, and peers showcasing their achievements, cars, and luxurious lifestyles. The message is clear: if you want to be respected, you need to flaunt what you have and constantly seek validation from others. But here's the truth: the more you try to impress others, the less respect you'll get. True respect comes not from showing off or chasing approval, but from impressing yourself first and foremost. The irony is that when you stop seeking validation from others, you naturally start to attract respect. People are drawn to confidence, and nothing says confidence like someone who doesn't need to prove their worth. Think about it: how many times have you found yourself in a conversation where someone is name-dropping or trying too hard to impress? It's exhausting and, ultimately, off-putting. People can sense when someone is insecure and trying to win their approval. And when others sense that insecurity, they don't respect you more, they respect you less. Impressing yourself is about focusing on your own growth, achievements, and self-worth, rather than relying on others to define your success. It's about building a life you're proud of, not for the purpose of showing it off, but because it aligns with who you want to be. When you start living authentically and focusing on personal development, you stop caring about how others perceive you. And when you stop caring about seeking approval, the respect naturally follows. I used to be like this in my early 20s. I was constantly trying to impress others. At social gatherings, I'd casually drop names or brag about my accomplishments, all in an effort to gain admiration from people. I thought that if I could show people how much I had accomplished or how impressive my lifestyle was, they'd respect me more. But in reality, all I was doing was making myself look desperate for approval, and it made me lose respect in the process. Then, one day, I met someone who changed my perspective. I was at a networking event, talking to a successful entrepreneur. He had the connections, the wealth, and the charm. But what stood out wasn't his accomplishments, it was his effortless demeanor. He wasn't name-dropping or trying to sell himself. He was simply being himself, asking thoughtful questions, and genuinely listening. The respect he commanded wasn't because he was trying to prove anything, it was because he didn't need to. He had already impressed himself. That's when I realized something crucial: the most respected people aren't the ones who talk the most, they're the ones who focus on impressing themselves. When you stop trying to impress others, you stop feeling the need to brag about your achievements. Instead, you let your results speak for themselves. People can tell when someone is secure in who they are, and that's what attracts respect. Whether it's achieving your goals, mastering a new skill, or simply living a life that aligns with your values, you'll find that respect follows naturally. People respect those who are self-sufficient, who are focused on their own growth, and who aren't seeking constant validation from the outside world. It's time to stop living for others' approval and start living for your own satisfaction. Ask yourself this: would I respect me if I weren't trying to impress anyone? If the answer is no, then it's time to shift your focus. Start working on building a life that makes you proud, not because you want others to admire you, but because it reflects the person you want to become. When you do this, you'll find that respect comes effortlessly. You won't need to impress anyone because your actions, your integrity, and your self-assurance will do all the talking. In the end, the people who are respected the most aren't the ones trying to impress others. They are the ones who focus on impressing themselves first. When you stop worrying about what others think and start building a life that you're proud of, respect will naturally follow. 4. Make quick decisions. Hesitation kills respect. In our fast-paced world, especially in American culture where speed and decisiveness are highly valued, one thing is clear: hesitation destroys respect. Whether you're in a business meeting, making personal decisions, or simply choosing where to go for dinner, the ability to make quick, confident decisions is crucial. The longer you hesitate, the more you lose the trust and respect of those around you. When you can't make a decision, people start to question your judgment, your ability to lead, and your worth. Think about it: how often have you found yourself in a situation where someone is unable to decide what they want? Maybe it's the friend who can't pick a restaurant, the employee who can't make a simple choice at work, or the leader who spends weeks overthinking a decision. It's frustrating, right? No one respects someone who can't make a decision. In fact, hesitation signals uncertainty and weakness, and that's a surefire way to lose respect. People trust decisive individuals because they convey confidence, clarity, and the ability to lead, even in uncertain situations. It's not about making the perfect decision every time, it's about making a decision and owning it. Most people hesitate because they fear making a mistake or choosing the wrong path. They analyze every possible option, seek out multiple opinions, and second-guess themselves, which only prolongs the process. Here's the thing, in many cases, any decision is better than no decision. The fear of making the wrong choice often leads to paralysis, and that indecision destroys respect more than a bad decision ever could. In fact, when people see you unable to decide, they begin to question your competence. One of the best ways to practice making decisions faster is to limit your options. When faced with a tough decision, narrow it down to just 2 or 3 choices. Once you've done that, give yourself a strict time limit to make the decision, say, 60 seconds. Don't overthink it. Once that time is up, commit to your choice and move forward. The more you practice making decisions quickly, the easier it becomes, and the more respect you'll gain from others. People value individuals who take action rather than sit on the fence, and this is one of the fastest ways to build respect. Another important factor to consider is how you approach decisions. If you're constantly seeking validation from others, asking for approval before making any choice, it sends the message that you don't trust your own judgment. This hesitation to act, coupled with the need for others' opinions, undermines your authority and diminishes respect. On the other hand, when you make decisions with confidence, even if they're not perfect, people admire your ability to take charge and move forward. It's not about being right all the time, it's about being decisive. I learned this lesson the hard way. A few years ago, I was at a networking event and had the chance to pitch myself to someone important. The question was simple: what do you do? Instead of answering confidently, I hesitated. I fumbled with my words, over-explained, and failed to sound certain about my own work. As I looked at his face, I could see his interest waning. He stopped paying attention, not because what I had to say wasn't valuable, but because I didn't sound sure of myself. In that moment, I realized that hesitation was my biggest enemy. If I didn't sound confident about my own work, why should he respect me or trust my abilities? Since then, I've trained myself to make decisions more quickly. Whether it's choosing a restaurant, a career path, or a life decision, I no longer hesitate. I trust myself to make the best decision I can at the moment, and if it turns out to be wrong, I adapt. The ability to act quickly, without overthinking, has transformed the way I'm perceived by others. It has earned me more respect, more opportunities, and more confidence in myself. In the end, hesitation kills respect. People don't follow those who can't make a decision. They follow those who act decisively and take ownership of their choices. If you want to gain respect, start making decisions faster. Whether you're choosing your next move in life or making a small, everyday choice, take action. And remember, sometimes the best decision is simply the one you make with confidence and commitment. 5. Be the one to end the conversation first. In many social and professional situations, the person who ends the conversation first holds a subtle but powerful advantage. In American culture, we often see conversations as a back-and-forth exchange, where one person talks and the other listens. However, there's an unspoken dynamic that plays a major role in determining who holds the power in that interaction. The individual who controls the end of the conversation is the one who subtly commands the most respect. Most people don't realize this, but who ends the conversation has a significant influence on how they are perceived. Think about it. How many times have you been in a conversation, waiting for the other person to signal that it's time to wrap things up? Maybe you've been in a business meeting, or even a casual chat with friends, where one person lingers too long, trying to squeeze out every last drop of conversation. It's uncomfortable, and it often leaves a sense of unease. The longer you stay, the more you risk wearing out your welcome, and that's when respect begins to fade. On the other hand, the person who gracefully ends the conversation leaves a lasting impression. This subtle move signals that they value their time, and by extension, they value yours. It demonstrates that they are in control of the interaction, that they are not desperate for validation, and that they know when to move on. This is the type of person others respect, someone who doesn't need to linger to feel important. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I used to stay in conversations longer than necessary. Whether it was trying to make a good impression or hoping to extend a meaningful connection, I often waited too long to leave, thinking that maybe saying just one more thing would make the conversation more memorable. But instead, I realized that I was coming off as needy. The people I was talking to would become distracted or disinterested, and I was unknowingly undermining my own position. Then, I began to observe the people who commanded the most respect in any room, whether it was in business meetings, social gatherings, or networking events. They were never the ones who overstayed their welcome. In fact, they often ended the conversation first, leaving just before the energy started to fade. This was a key differentiator. They knew exactly when to leave the conversation, and they did it with confidence. They would say something like, "It was great catching up with you, let's talk soon," and they would walk away smoothly. There was no awkward lingering or trying to fill the silence. They simply knew when it was time to go, and that timing made all the difference. Being the one to end the conversation first does more than just demonstrate confidence, it creates an air of mystery and intrigue. When you leave before the conversation gets stale, people will remember it as a positive experience. They'll feel like they didn't get enough of you, which makes them want more. And that's how you maintain your influence and respect in any interaction. By leaving them wanting more, you keep the door open for future conversations, opportunities, and relationships. Another important aspect of this is how you exit. It's essential to be polite but assertive. A clean exit line, like, "I have to run, but let's connect again soon," or "I'll let you go, but I really enjoyed our talk," works wonders. It signals that you respect both your time and theirs, and you are confident enough to not feel the need to squeeze every second out of the moment. In any conversation, whether in a business setting or among friends, be the one who ends it first. Control the flow of the interaction by knowing when to exit. By doing so, you show that you value your time, respect the other person, and, most importantly, you command respect in return. It's a small but powerful move that makes a lasting impression. 6. Own your silence. In a world where everyone seems to be talking, and talking, whether it's through social media, in meetings, or at social gatherings, the power of silence is often overlooked. Yet, true power doesn't always come from speaking loudly or constantly filling the room with words. In fact, silence can be one of the most powerful tools you can wield to command respect and maintain authority. The ability to embrace silence, and use it strategically, sets you apart from the crowd and makes people take notice. In American culture, where we are constantly bombarded with noise, TV shows, podcasts, news, and endless notifications, it's easy to assume that the more you talk, the more valuable your input is. But in reality, the most respected people are not the ones who speak the most, they're the ones who speak when it matters and make their words count. This is why owning your silence is such a crucial skill. Think about it, when someone speaks too much or too often, their words start to lose weight. People tune them out, and they begin to seem less authoritative. On the other hand, when someone speaks less but says something important, people listen more attentively. This is because they recognize that every word is deliberate, thoughtful, and has value. The more you can resist the urge to fill every pause with unnecessary chatter, the more people will respect what you have to say. I used to be someone who felt the need to constantly explain myself in conversations, worried that if I didn't say enough, I wouldn't be understood or respected. I would rush to answer questions, explain every detail, and try to fill in every gap in conversation. But over time, I realized that I was actually losing respect because of it. People were overwhelmed by my over-explaining, and it made me seem insecure and unsure of myself. It wasn't until I learned the power of silence that things began to change. A perfect example of the power of silence came during a meeting with an entrepreneur I admired. The conversation started with someone asking him a question about a major project. Instead of immediately answering, he paused. He sat there, took a breath, and let the silence linger for a few seconds. In that moment, everyone in the room leaned in, eager to hear what he would say. He didn't rush to fill the silence with words. He used it to gather his thoughts and to command the room's attention. When he finally spoke, every word felt weighty and meaningful, and everyone in the room respected him even more for it. What makes silence so powerful? First, it gives you presence. When you aren't constantly speaking, people naturally turn their focus toward you. They pay attention to every word you say because they know you don't speak unless it's necessary. Second, silence signals control. The person who can remain calm and collected, without needing to fill every awkward pause, projects confidence. They are in control of the situation, and that control commands respect. Another key aspect of owning your silence is how it influences your body language. Silence isn't just about not speaking, it's also about being comfortable in your own space. When you pause before responding, when you remain still and composed, people can feel your confidence. A calm, neutral expression conveys that you're not easily shaken, and this builds respect. Silence also serves as a tool for diffusing tension. In situations where others may be looking for a reaction, whether it's in an argument or a stressful negotiation, choosing to remain silent can be your strongest move. People who seek a reaction from you often want to provoke you or throw you off balance. By not reacting, you maintain control over the situation and, in doing so, maintain your power. The longer you stay silent, the more uncomfortable they become, and the more control you have over the conversation. In everyday life, you can begin to practice owning your silence by simply learning to pause before responding. Give yourself a few seconds to gather your thoughts. When someone asks you a question, don't rush to answer immediately. Take a moment to think about your response. This small act of pause creates a sense of anticipation and makes your words carry more weight when you finally speak. In conclusion, silence is not a weakness, it's a strength. The more comfortable you become with silence, the more you'll find that people listen to you when you do speak. When you own your silence, you project confidence, command attention, and most importantly, earn respect. It's one of the simplest yet most effective ways to become a person who is truly respected by others. 3. Conclusion. Respect isn't something you can demand or force, it's earned through the way you carry yourself and the actions you take every day. From keeping your word, controlling your reactions, and making quick decisions to knowing when to leave a conversation or embracing the power of silence, it's the small, consistent actions that build a solid foundation for respect. In American culture, where people often chase validation or focus on big achievements, it's important to remember that respect is built on integrity, emotional control, and the ability to make decisions with confidence. People respect those who act with purpose and authenticity, not those who are constantly seeking approval or showing off. By making small changes, like being decisive, owning your silence, and impressing yourself rather than others, you will start to command the respect you deserve. And as you focus on building self-respect and trust, the respect from others will follow naturally. It all starts with how you treat yourself and how you show up in the world. When you embody these principles, you will see a powerful shift in how others perceive you, and ultimately, how you perceive yourself.